The grand hall of Xyrath's royal palace gleamed under the soft glow of floating crystal orbs. Their light reflected off polished marble floors and high walls decorated with the banners of alien dynasties from countless worlds. The air hummed with anticipation, excitement, and just a little fear. Today was the day of the marriage challenge of Xyrath, a tradition older than most species could remember. It was a spectacle, a test, and a trial, all rolled into one, a ceremony where suitors from across the galaxy would attempt to prove their worth to marry the ruler's daughter. Lord Vader, a tall, imposing alien with 4 arms and translucent, shimmering skin, stood at the center of the hall. His eyes, a deep shade of violet, scanned the crowd with a mix of pride and impatience. Beside him was his daughter, Lyra, a being of intelligence, beauty, and cunning unmatched in the Empire. Lyra's skin glimmered faintly under the lights, her sharp eyes scanning every face in the hall. She was confident, almost arrogantly so, for she had bested every suitor who dared approach in the past year. Each had failed, some spectacularly, some pitifully, and all had left with their pride shattered. The assembly waited for the announcement. Finally, the Emperor's voice boomed from the high dais. "This year's challenge shall commence. Let all who dare to step forward show their worth." They were used to victories, to ceremonial displays of power and skill. They were not used to surprises, and then it happened. From the very back of the hall, a figure stepped forward. He was unremarkable at first glance. A human man, slightly shorter than most aliens in the room, wearing simple clothing that looked almost laughably primitive compared to the flowing ceremonial robes of the alien suitors. Yet he moved forward with calm, measured steps, his gaze steady, his expression unshaken. Jack, that was his name, carried no weapons, no strange devices, no elaborate adornments, just himself, and the faintest hint of a smile. The hall fell silent. The alien suitors whispered among themselves, their voices tinged with disbelief and in some cases mockery. "A human," one hissed, a serpentine creature with 8 eyes and spiny tendrils. "Those pitiful primitives think they can compete with us." "I didn't come to fail," he said simply. His voice was steady, calm, and carried a confidence that drew the attention of everyone in the room. Lyra raised an eyebrow. "Interesting," she said softly, more to herself than anyone else. She had never seen a human approach so boldly, never seen one so unafraid in the presence of the powerful and terrifyingly clever. A snicker ran through the crowd. Aliens laughed at the audacity of a human daring to face Lyra. But Jack did not flinch. Instead, he looked around, absorbing the strange architecture, the floating lights, and the creatures of every conceivable shape and form. There was a curiosity in his eyes, a spark that seemed out of place in this grand, intimidating hall. The first test was announced. "The puzzle of the crystal mines," the Emperor intoned. "Only one who can unlock the secrets of the crystals may proceed. Many have tried, all have failed." Alien suitors approached, tapping at the crystals with multiple fingers or manipulating strange devices designed to interact with them. They muttered in their native languages, tried elaborate formulas, and invoked ancient techniques passed down through generations. Each time the crystal remained still, its secrets unyielding. Jack stepped closer. He did not touch the crystals with frantic precision or mechanical tools. Instead, he observed. He tilted his head, squinted, and finally placed a single hand lightly on the largest crystal. He didn't push or pull. He simply focused, thinking about patterns, flow, and movement. Slowly, subtly, the colors within the crystal began to align. A soft hum filled the hall. The aliens froze. The crystal shifted again, and then, as if recognizing him, it opened slightly, revealing a faint glow inside. Jack had done it. Without technology, without ceremony, without arrogance, just observation, intuition, and patience. Lyra's eyes widened. "Perhaps humans are more interesting than I thought," she murmured. The next test was one of strength, the gravity gauntlet. The floor beneath them transformed into a shifting arena, gravity fluctuating wildly. Aliens jumped, flew, and used advanced technology to stabilize themselves, but most faltered or tumbled. Jack struggled at first. He fell, stumbled, and adapted quickly. He used his own body in ways that seemed clumsy at first, rolling, leaning, and gripping surfaces in ways the aliens had not considered. By the end of the test, Jack had completed the gauntlet, not with raw strength, but with clever improvisation. His success was met with stunned silence. He had proven that human creativity and adaptability could outmatch alien physical prowess. Then came the most difficult test of all, diplomacy. Jack had to negotiate with a group of alien leaders, known throughout the galaxy for their cunning and manipulation. They tried every trick, bluffs, threats, deception. Jack did not panic. He listened, observed, and spoke honestly. He acknowledged the fears and ambitions of each leader, proposed solutions that benefited all, and showed empathy where others would have only seen opportunity. By the end, the alien leaders nodded in respect. Jack had won not by deception, force, or arrogance, but by honesty, courage, and humanity. The hall erupted in whispers, gasps, and quiet admiration. Lyra watched, intrigued. Jack was not like any other suitor. He did not seek to dominate, to impress, or to cheat. He sought to understand, to act bravely, and to show respect. She could not help but smile faintly at the thought. Perhaps, she mused, there was something remarkable about humans. Lord Vader, however, was less impressed. His skin shimmered in irritation. "A human?" he barked. "This is unacceptable. No human can be worthy of my daughter. I came to show what humans can do when they try." "Let the final trial be announced," she said, her voice calm, confident, and slightly amused. "If anyone can surpass him, let it be known now." The Heart of the Ancients was legendary, said to be a crystal hidden in a temple on the tallest peak of Zyrath. The path was treacherous, filled with puzzles, traps, and dangers beyond imagining. Many suitors had tried. None had succeeded. Jack's eyes gleamed. He had come this far. He had no intention of stopping now. Humans were not the strongest, the smartest, or the fastest species in the galaxy, but they had courage, adaptability, and the ability to think differently. And that, he knew, could carry him where others had failed. As he prepared to step forward, the hall buzzed with tension, excitement, and disbelief. Lyra watched, her curiosity growing with every step he took. The audience, once dismissive, now leaned forward in anticipation. The human had arrived, unarmed, unassuming, yet already proving that he was unlike anyone the galaxy had seen before. For the first time in many cycles, the audience wondered, not whether Jack could succeed, but how he would succeed and whether the universe had underestimated humans for far too long. Jack took a deep breath, feeling the weight of countless eyes upon him, yet unafraid. The first part of his journey was complete. The challenges had tested him, mocked him, and tried to break him, yet he had persisted. And in that moment, as he gazed at Lyra and the towering path ahead, he realized something else. This was not just a test of skill or courage. This was a test of humanity itself. Could one human alone show the galaxy that courage, creativity, and integrity could shine brighter than technology, strength, or centuries of tradition? He was about to find out. The early light of Zyrath's twin suns spilled over the jagged peaks of the high mountains, casting long shadows across the temple path. Jack adjusted the straps of his simple pack, taking a moment to admire the view. The Temple of the Heart of the Ancients was said to be unreachable by most species, perched atop the tallest and most dangerous peak on the planet. Even seasoned alien adventurers had failed, their pride and skill insufficient to overcome the challenges awaiting anyone brave or foolish enough to climb it. Jack's eyes, however, were steady. Humans were not built to fly on mechanical wings or to leap with tentacle strength, but humans could endure, adapt, and think creatively. Every trial he had passed so far had required a mixture of intelligence, courage, and patience. He felt ready for whatever lay ahead. Behind him, alien suitors gathered in groups, whispering nervously. Some were already showing signs of defeat, their pride dented by a human who had outwitted them at the crystal mines and outmaneuvered them in the gravity gauntlet. Many refused to believe that he could succeed in the ultimate trial. The odds were overwhelming. The path was treacherous, and the Heart of the Ancients had never been claimed by any living being in memory. Lyra walked beside Jack as he began the climb. She was quiet at first, watching him carefully. Her sharp eyes noticed every detail, how he moved, how he adjusted his weight on the slippery stone, how he observed the natural traps embedded along the cliffside. Many humans would have been cautious, even fearful, but Jack moved with calculated courage, careful yet unafraid. "Most would have stopped at the first ledge," Lyra said softly. Her voice was a mixture of curiosity and admiration. "Many stronger, faster, more experienced than you have fallen here. Why do you keep going?" "Humans don't always win by strength, but we survive by trying, by thinking, and by not giving up." One false step would send anyone tumbling into darkness. Alien suitors hesitated, some retreating entirely, their pride unwilling to risk their lives. But Jack stepped forward, testing the surface with his foot. He observed the movement, gauged the spacing, and adjusted his pace. With careful balance, he leapt from one stone to the next. The platforms shifted, tilted, and threatened to drop him at any moment, but Jack adapted, sliding, gripping, and running with instinctive precision. Lyra followed, surprised at his speed and coordination. Most aliens relied on tools, technology, or brute strength, yet Jack relied only on his mind and body working together. He reached the final platform with a grin, breathing steadily. The next challenge awaited in the form of a maze of shifting walls, each wall embedded with glowing alien runes. The maze was designed to confuse, trap, and frustrate, with illusions and false passages that drove many suitors insane. Alien logic often failed here. They tried to predict patterns mathematically or used devices to detect movement, but the maze changed faster than their calculations. Jack paused, breathing deeply, and studied the patterns. He noticed something subtle. The runes pulsed not randomly, but in sequences influenced by sound and light. Using nothing more than observation and trial and error, he adjusted his movements, listening to the faint hum of the walls, observing shadows and reflections, and slowly, deliberately, he navigated through the maze. Lyra watched in quiet awe. "Impressive," she murmured. "Most would have spent hours trapped, growing frustrated. You move with patience, but also purpose." Sharp, jagged rocks protruded unpredictably, and the wind gusted violently. Jack and Lyra carefully scaled the surface. Here, the test was physical, but intelligence still mattered. Each foothold was a puzzle. Each handhold was a test of judgment. Jack looked for patterns in the rock, assessing which stones would hold, which would crumble, and where the wind might knock him off balance. At one point, a small ledge gave way beneath his foot. He tumbled slightly but caught himself on a nearby outcrop, adjusting his grip and balance. Lyra watched, slightly alarmed but impressed. Humans were fragile in appearance, yet Jack's combination of courage and adaptability allowed him to survive situations that would have crushed more confident alien climbers. The climb took hours. Exhaustion crept in, testing every fiber of Jack's being. Yet he persisted, pausing only to catch his breath and observe the natural traps of the cliff. He noticed a loose stone formation ahead, likely to fall if someone misstepped. Instead of rushing, he carefully removed it, creating a safer path for Lyra and any future travelers. His actions were not heroic for recognition. They were calculated, practical, and selfless. As they neared the top, a new obstacle emerged, the Cavern of Shadows, a twisting network of tunnels filled with illusions and traps. The caverns were said to test not strength or intelligence, but heart. Previous suitors had faced hallucinations of loved ones in danger, voices calling them to abandon the path, or visions that preyed on their fears and weaknesses. Many had failed because they could not remain calm, honest, and true to themselves. Jack entered the cavern first, his eyes adjusting to the dim light. Shadows shifted along the walls, forming shapes of alien warriors, creatures, and terrifying visions. He heard whispers that seemed to call him to stop, turn back, or betray others for safety. He paused, taking deep breaths, focusing on what he knew to be real. A vision appeared in front of him. A child trapped under falling rubble, crying for help. He could hear no one else in the cavern, and no one would see him act. Many aliens would have ignored it, seeing it as an illusion or distraction. Jack ran forward, lifting stones with careful strength and saving the child. The child, an alien from a distant planet, looked at him with wide, grateful eyes. Lyra watched silently from the shadows, impressed. She had seen suitors fail this part before. Most were selfish, arrogant, or too proud to act. Jack's courage and empathy distinguished him from all others. He did not need applause, he acted because it was right. Emerging from the cavern, Jack faced the final stretch, a narrow bridge suspended over a chasm filled with glowing crystal spires. One false step would lead to disaster. The bridge swayed in the wind, seeming almost alive. Jack stepped carefully, each foot placed deliberately. His mind calculated, his heart steady, his hands gripping the ropes with precision. Halfway across, a sudden gust of wind threw him off balance. He fell, catching himself on the edge of the bridge with one hand dangling precariously. Lyra gasped. The alien suitors froze in horror, certain that this human would finally fail. But Jack's grip did not falter for long. He adjusted his weight, swung his body, and pulled himself back onto the bridge. One steady step after another, he reached the far side, his eyes gleaming with quiet satisfaction. Lyra stepped onto the bridge, smiling faintly. "You have surprised me," she said, her voice soft. "Not with strength or skill, but with courage, patience, and cleverness. Traits many species overlook." Many had expected him to fail, yet Jack had passed trial after trial, proving not just competence, but ingenuity, moral strength, and unshakable courage. Lord Vader's forearms twitched in visible irritation. "A human," he barked. "No creature from that primitive world should reach this far. This is unacceptable." "I didn't come to impress or compete by your rules," he said. I came to show that humans can succeed even when no one expects it. As the sun dipped toward the horizon, casting long shadows over the mountain path, Jack and Lyra stood together, looking toward the final summit where the heart of the ancients awaited. Every step so far had been a test, every trial had challenged his mind, body, and heart. And yet he had endured. Jack knew that the greatest challenges were still ahead. The heart of the ancients was not just a prize, it was a symbol of ultimate worth, a test of character that no one had ever passed. And yet, for the first time, it seemed possible. He looked at Lyra, meeting her gaze. "Are you ready?" he asked quietly. Lyra nodded. "I am," she said. "But I am curious, can you truly reach the heart human?" "We'll see," he said simply. "Humans don't give up easily." They were capable of surprising the galaxy in ways that no one expected. And this was only the beginning. The final stretch of the mountain trail narrowed into a rocky ridge that seemed almost impossible to cross. Jagged stones jutted out like the teeth of some great beast, and the wind howled with a fury that threatened to push anyone off balance. Jack moved carefully, each step deliberate. He was tired, his muscles ached, and yet his determination burned brighter than ever. Humans had never been the strongest in the galaxy, but they had endurance, ingenuity, and a refusal to surrender. Lyra followed, her eyes sharp and calculating. She had never seen a suitor, human or alien, move with such combination of courage and thoughtfulness. Each step Jack took was precise, yet adaptable. When a loose stone shifted under his weight, he adjusted instantly, placing his hand and foot in a new position without hesitation. Many alien suitors would have fallen here, relying on brute strength or technology to compensate for misjudgment. Jack relied on observation, intuition, and quick thinking. Finally, they reached the entrance to the Temple of the Heart, carved into the mountain itself. Ancient symbols covered the massive doors, glowing faintly with a light that pulsed like a heartbeat. According to legend, only those with courage, intelligence, and integrity could pass through. Many had tried, but none had succeeded. Jack stepped forward. "This is it," he said quietly. His voice carried no fear, only focus. "The final challenge begins now." Pillars stretched to the ceiling, carved with the history of countless alien civilizations. The floor was patterned with intricate glyphs that seemed to shift when viewed from different angles. The air was thick with ancient energy, and the faint hum of the heart's power resonated through the chamber. The first test within the temple was the puzzle of the ancient glyphs. The walls shifted and twisted, displaying symbols that no one living had ever fully deciphered. Alien suitors often failed because they relied on their ability to memorize, calculate, or analyze. But Jack approached differently. He observed patterns, noticed repetitions, and considered how symbols might relate to universal concepts: light, sound, movement, balance. Hours passed. Many of the alien suitors gave up or grew frustrated, muttering about the primitive human wasting time. Jack, however, remained patient. He traced the symbols with his fingers, experimenting and adjusting based on results. Slowly, methodically, the glyphs responded. They shifted, unlocked, and aligned. The first barrier was cleared. Lyra's expression softened. "I admit it," she said, speaking more to herself than anyone else. "Humans think differently. They see patterns others miss, notice details no one else does." Bridges appeared and disappeared without warning, forcing suitors to take leaps of faith. Aliens hesitated, calculating odds, trying to measure distances, some failing entirely. Jack stood at the edge, assessing the energy, observing the movement of the floating bridges. Then, without hesitation, he ran forward and leapt onto the first bridge. It shifted beneath him, threatening to drop him into the glowing abyss. He balanced with instinctive adjustments, using both hands and feet to grip surfaces and shift weight. One bridge gave way slightly, and he swung sideways, landing safely on the next. Lyra followed, her heart racing. "Most suitors would have frozen," she whispered. "You act without fear, but with calculation. You have to keep moving." Alien suitors often failed here because they chose personal glory over compassion. Jack entered the chamber alone at first. Shadows shifted, whispering in alien tongues, presenting images of those he loved, urging him to turn back, to take shortcuts, to abandon morality for personal gain. One illusion showed a human colony in peril, needing his immediate assistance. Another presented visions of vast wealth and power if he stepped off the path. Jack took a deep breath and stepped forward, ignoring all illusions except what he knew was real. He moved calmly, choosing the paths that helped others even when no one could see. When a vision of a trapped alien child appeared, he did not hesitate. He rescued it, ignoring the whispers promising him fame if he left it behind. Hours passed inside the trial of heart. The illusions tried every trick, every form of temptation. Jack never wavered. He did not act out of desire for recognition, reward, or pride. He acted because it was right. Outside, Lyra waited, observing from a secure vantage point. She was impressed. Humans, she realized, were remarkable in a way no alien could fully comprehend. They were not necessarily the fastest, the strongest, or the most advanced, but their courage, empathy, and adaptability gave them an edge even in the most impossible trials. Finally, Jack emerged from the chamber, weary but unbroken. His eyes shone with determination and quiet triumph. He had passed every test, faced every illusion, and endured every hardship. The path to the heart of the ancients was open. The audience in the royal hall, who had been observing remotely through ancient magical devices, murmured in astonishment. No human had ever reached this point. Some were skeptical, dismissing him as lucky, while others whispered about his ingenuity, courage, and unshakable heart. Lord Vader's 4 arms twitched with visible frustration. "Impossible," he barked. "A human should not have made it this far. This is unacceptable. I came to show what humans are capable of when they try, when they do not give up, and when they act with courage and heart. Most importantly, you have shown that courage and compassion can be more powerful than skill or heritage." A crystal of unimaginable brilliance floated in the center, glowing softly with a pulsing light. Its presence was both beautiful and intimidating, symbolizing ultimate worth. Every suitor who had tried before had failed here, unable to reach it, faltering in courage, intelligence, or heart. Jack took careful steps forward. Every movement was precise, measured, and deliberate. The crystal's light seemed to test him, as though aware of his thoughts, his intentions, and his character. He approached slowly, extending a hand with respect rather than arrogance. As he neared the crystal, a final vision appeared, a version of himself, afraid, failing, giving up. He shook his head and stepped forward. "Humans don't quit," he whispered. "We adapt, we endure, we keep moving." The humans had done what no alien could. They had succeeded not through technology, brute strength, or centuries of tradition, but through courage, cleverness, adaptability, and integrity. The chamber filled with light, signaling the completion of the trial. Jack stepped back, breathing deeply but steady. He had faced every challenge, endured every test, and remained true to himself. The aliens observing the trial whispered among themselves. Some were in disbelief. Others began to reconsider what they had assumed about humans for generations. One thing was clear: the galaxy had underestimated humanity, and Jack had just begun to show them why humans should never be underestimated again. Lyra approached him, her voice quiet but firm. "You have reached the heart of the ancients," she said. "And in doing so, you have shown the galaxy something it has forgotten, that courage, heart, and determination can surpass all else. And now, perhaps others will begin to see it too. Courage, heart, and intelligence, sometimes in unexpected forms, are just as important." Jack looked at Lyra, offering a small, respectful bow. "This is only the beginning," he said quietly. "Humans have more to show, more to give, and more courage than most realize. But for now, you have truly earned your place at the heart of the ancients." The air was thick with anticipation as Jack emerged from the temple of the heart of the ancients, his hands still faintly glowing from touching the crystal that had tested everything about him: his courage, intelligence, endurance, and integrity. Behind him, Lyra walked with quiet confidence, her eyes fixed on him with something between admiration and curiosity. The alien suitors had been waiting at the base of the temple, many of them resentful, some skeptical, others openly fearful of what had just occurred. They had come to show their superiority, to claim the hand of the princess through skill, cunning, and strength. And yet here stood a human, small, simple, and unarmed, who had bested every challenge they had feared to face. Lord Vader, his translucent skin shimmering in agitation, stepped forward. His 4 arms gestured wildly as he tried to make sense of the situation. "This is impossible," he bellowed. "A human? No human can claim my daughter. The laws of this empire, the traditions of centuries, they cannot allow it." "I did not come to claim your daughter by force or by custom," he said calmly. "I came to show that humans have courage, determination, and intelligence that should never be underestimated. I did not seek to break your laws, only to prove what we are capable of." Others, however, began to murmur among themselves, reconsidering what they had thought about humans for generations. Many had assumed humans were weak, simple, and primitive. Jack had shattered every expectation. Lyra stepped closer to her father, her voice clear and calm. "Father," she said, strength and skill alone do not define worth. Courage, intelligence, empathy, and moral strength, these are also measures of a being. Jack has shown all of these. No other suitor has even come close. Humans are too simple. Lyra, however, had made her decision. She walked to stand beside Jack, looking at her father. "Father," she said firmly, "I choose him. Jack has proven himself in every possible way, not by status, not by heritage, but by courage, skill, and heart. If you cannot accept that, then perhaps it is you who must reconsider your traditions." Some suitors were shocked, unable to believe that the princess had chosen a human. Others were impressed, grudgingly admiring Jack's courage and integrity. Lord Vader's eyes narrowed. "You choose a human over centuries of tradition and thousands of alien suitors?" he asked incredulously. "Yes," Lyra said simply, "and it is not just his abilities that matter, it is his heart. Humans are capable of greatness in ways the galaxy has overlooked for too long. Jack has proven this before everyone, and he has earned my respect, my trust, and my choice. I only wish to show that courage, honesty, and adaptability are strengths that should not be ignored." He assessed them calmly, noting their postures, their intentions, and the tension in the hall. He knew confrontation would be tricky, not with violence, but with wit, diplomacy, and reasoning. Using the very traits that had carried him through the trials, he spoke quietly but firmly, addressing not only the challengers but the entire assembly. "Have all of you forgotten why we are here?" he asked. "This challenge was not about your pride, your heritage, or your arrogance. It was about proving worthiness. I have faced the tests that the heart of the ancients demanded. I have faced illusions, physical dangers, puzzles, and moral trials. I have endured everything, not by trickery, not by cheating, but by being true to myself and by acting with courage and compassion. If you cannot respect that, it says more about your pride than my worth. Jack has earned the heart of the ancients. He has also earned my choice. That is the final decision." Finally, with a slow exhale, he nodded. "Very well," he said, his voice measured. "If the princess chooses him, then the heart of the ancients has indeed recognized his worth. But know this, human, your actions have not gone unnoticed. You will carry the scrutiny of the Empire with you. Do not falter now. We learn, we adapt, and we face challenges head-on." Placing his hand lightly on its surface, he felt the familiar hum of energy pulsing through him. It was a recognition of courage, ingenuity, and heart. The golden light of the chamber brightened, bathing them both in a glow that seemed to touch every corner of the hall. The audience gasped collectively. Jack, a human, had completed every challenge, earned the respect of the princess, and now stood as a symbol of human potential to the entire empire. "Do you understand, father?" Lyra asked softly, turning to Lord Vader. "This is not just a human winning a challenge. This is the galaxy learning something important. That courage, intelligence, and heart are more valuable than pride, heritage, or raw power. Perhaps humans are more capable than I imagined," he muttered, almost to himself. The alien suitors, those who had sneered, argued, or dismissed him, now bowed or stepped back in respect. Jack had not only passed trials, but had also shown diplomacy, calm under pressure, and moral strength. The galaxy's assumptions about humanity were beginning to crumble, and it was impossible to ignore. Lyra looked at Jack with a mix of admiration and amusement. "I must admit," she said softly, "I did not expect you to succeed in such a complete way. I thought your courage might get you far, but I did not imagine your combination of intelligence, patience, and integrity. You are remarkable." The alien dignitaries, Lyra, and even her father understood that Jack had demonstrated something far greater than winning a challenge. He had shown humanity's unexpected strengths, its potential to surprise the galaxy, and its ability to act with courage, intelligence, and heart, even in the most impossible situations. As the sun fully set, casting the world in twilight, Jack and Lyra stood together at the center of the hall. Jack had passed every trial, faced every challenge, and remained true to himself. Lyra had chosen him, recognizing his worth and the unique qualities humans possessed. Lord Vader, though still proud and slightly irritable, finally stepped back and nodded in reluctant respect. The challenge was over. The heart of the ancients had recognized the human, the princess had chosen him, and the galaxy would never view humanity the same way again. Jack turned to Lyra, bowing slightly. "This is only the beginning," he said quietly. "Humans have more courage, more creativity, and more determination than most believe. This is just the start of showing it to the universe." And Jack, a single human, had shown the galaxy just how remarkable his kind could be. The grand hall of the Zyrathian palace was alive with light and movement. Banners of countless alien species hung from the soaring walls, and crystal orbs floated gently in the air, casting prismatic reflections across the polished floors. This was the day the entire empire had awaited, a day that would be remembered not just for tradition, but for a lesson in courage, heart, and the unexpected strength of humanity. Jack walked beside Lyra, his expression calm, his steps steady. Around them, alien dignitaries whispered nervously. Some were still struggling to process what had happened. A human, small, seemingly ordinary and unarmed, had completed the impossible, reached the heart of the ancients, and earned the hand of the princess. The whispers were tinged with awe, skepticism, and in some cases, grudging respect. Lyra held her head high, confident and composed. Today, she would make a statement not just about her choice, but about what the galaxy had overlooked for too long. Humans were underestimated, dismissed, and often ignored, but Jack had proven that courage, ingenuity, and moral strength could change even the most rigid traditions. The ceremony began. Alien musicians played instruments that emitted tones unfamiliar to human ears, yet oddly harmonious. The air buzzed with energy as the assembly watched Jack and Lyra approach the dais where Lord Vader waited. His expression was stern, but beneath it lay a faint trace of respect. He could not deny the humans' accomplishments. "You have proven yourself," Lord Vader said, addressing Jack directly. His voice carried authority, but also the weight of grudging admiration. "No human has ever faced these trials and returned with success. You have surpassed not only the challenges of the heart of the ancients, but also the expectations of an entire galaxy. That is no small feat. I do not claim to be the strongest or the smartest among all species, but I have done what humans do best. We try, we adapt, and we never give up. I choose you, Jack, as my partner, not just for this day, but for the future we will face together." A ceremonial advisor stepped forward, holding the seal of the heart, a crystal disc symbolizing union, trust, and honor. Traditionally, the suitor placed their hand upon the seal to signify their commitment. Jack extended his hand and pressed it gently against the crystal. It glowed softly, recognizing his courage, determination, and honesty. The chamber filled with light, warm and gentle, as though approving of the union. Lyra joined him, placing her hand over his. The combined light of their hands shimmered, pulsing like a heartbeat, and seemed to reach into every corner of the hall. This was no ordinary union. It was a statement, a moment that transcended tradition and highlighted the unexpected strength of humans, the courage to face impossible challenges, the ingenuity to overcome obstacles, and the integrity to act with honor. Lord Vader stepped forward and extended his remaining hands in blessing. "May your union serve as a reminder," he said, "that courage and integrity are more valuable than strength or heritage. Let this day mark a new understanding between our worlds. Let it remind all who doubt humanity that they should never underestimate the power of heart and determination." Jack and Lyra smiled at one another, sharing a quiet moment amid the grandeur and spectacle. Neither needed to speak to convey the understanding they had gained. Trust, admiration, and partnership filled the space between them. After the formalities, the festivities began. Alien dignitaries from every corner of the empire shared stories, laughter, and music. Jack moved among them with grace, answering questions, sharing insight into human ways, and demonstrating humility. He did not boast, for he understood that respect was earned through action, not words. Lyra stayed close, sometimes teasing, sometimes observing, always quietly proud. "You handle this with remarkable patience," she said softly. Most humans would be overwhelmed by all this attention. Some had come expecting to mock him, but instead they found themselves intrigued, inspired even. Humanity, once dismissed as simple and weak, was now seen as capable of ingenuity, courage, and unexpected strength. Lyra watched these interactions with interest. "You have done more than win a challenge," she said quietly to Jack. "You have changed the perception of your entire species in one day. But when we are tested, we can surprise even ourselves, and apparently the rest of the galaxy." "You've accomplished something remarkable," Lyra said, leaning slightly against the railing. "Not just winning the heart of the ancients, but showing the galaxy that humans are more than they think." "I didn't do it to prove anything to the galaxy," he said. "I did it to show that courage, persistence, and doing what is right matter. If the galaxy learns that too, that's a bonus. And they will not forget it." He had shown courage in the face of danger, ingenuity when challenges seemed impossible, and integrity when temptations appeared. Lyra placed a hand on his shoulder. "Are you ready for what comes next?" she asked. "Life with me, life with this empire, and the galaxy watching everything we do. I've faced impossible mountains, illusions, and trials that would make the bravest alien tremble," he said. "I think I can handle this. But I believe we can face them together." The Empire had witnessed the power of courage, the strength of integrity, and the surprising brilliance of humanity. Inside the palace, the festivities continued. Music, laughter, and the clinking of ceremonial glasses filled the air. Ambassadors and dignitaries approached Jack and Lyra with congratulations, curiosity, and cautious admiration. Many were already beginning to rethink their assumptions about humans, wondering what other unexpected strengths this small, unassuming species might possess. In a quiet corner, Lord Vader observed them, his pride tempered by respect. He had learned something valuable today, that courage, intelligence, and heart could manifest in ways even an ancient, powerful empire might not predict. Jack had forced him and the entire assembly to reconsider everything they thought they knew about humanity. Jack and Lyra eventually retreated to a private chamber, the sounds of celebration fading behind them. They sat together, exhausted but content, reflecting on the journey that had brought them here. "You really did it," Lyra said softly. "Every step, every choice. You've shown more than any alien could have imagined. Thanks to you, humans will no longer be dismissed. They will be watched, respected, and perhaps even admired. You've already changed the galaxy," she said softly, "and this is only the beginning." Lyra had seen it, the Empire had seen it, and the galaxy would never view humans the same way again. The celebrations would continue, stories would be told, and legends would be written. But for Jack and Lyra, the moment was quiet, intimate, and profound. A human had stood among the greatest challenges of the galaxy and prevailed. Humanity, small yet resilient, clever yet courageous, had earned its place, and this was only the beginning.